Yeah, we're all here. I'm going to be answering questions because I get a lot of questions about the Court of Atonement, and I find myself saying the same things over and over to everybody. A lot of you are like practically professionals and are ready to teach this. I mean, I'm really impressed with where a lot of you are. I'm learning from the people who are using it as well. But I just had a man who bought the book, read the book, and then he said, I kind of understand that I need to put people in the Court of Atonement, but how do I do it? And he goes, I read the little thing, but do I need to go into a meditative space? Do I need to, what do I need to do it? And I'm like, it's just as simple as it possibly can be. You just intend it. That's all. You just intend for it to happen. And I can remember seeing two little kids getting out of a car in a parking lot. And the little girl goes to get out, and the brother like yanks her, and she falls to the ground. And then she screams at him, and I went, hey, I said, I just looked over at them and I said, that boy, that girl, Court of Atonement now. I don't know their names. I just intended to do it. And I said, I placed them in a Court of Atonement to correct sibling rivalry and wherever it starts in that family. And so thinking about that sibling rivalry, I'm amazed at how things repeat and repeat and repeat in people's lives. And if we stop and look, in my family, it is 3 girls and 1 boy from my mother's side for 3 generations that I know of. And the relationship between the boys and the girls is identical. And so I can take a look at that sibling rivalry and say, all right, I ask for a Court of Atonement to correct sibling rivalry within my family at the root of it. I'd like to go back 3 or 4 generations back and heal sibling rivalry before it got down here, because there seems to be the same relationship, the 3 girls against the 1 boy and the 1 boy winning in 3 different family members. So like I said, the idea of doing this isn't something that we should complicate. It's something we should have the intention of making it even more simple. It shouldn't be, how do I do this? I don't know how to do this. As soon as you think I don't know how to do this, you say, okay, I place myself in a Court of Atonement for thinking I don't know how to do this. I ask to correct wherever that information came from. And I'm finding the word correct coming up instead of the word healing for about the past week now. Oh, you can't hear me? Am I blocked? Can you all hear me or no? I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Can you hear
me?
me? Okay, good.
Yes.
Okay, good. So whoever it was that said they can't hear me, they can figure it out. Yeah, and in there, like I said, there's a mute button that you can mute and unmute yourselves if you guys have a question. Good, perfect. Somebody scared me when they said they couldn't hear me, and I looked down and it said Amy with a slash, and I'm like, that I hope is my mom. So anyway, this simplicity of this thing is the beauty of it. But a lot of us are really technical people, and unless we figure out a way to complicate it, we can't understand it. And I kind of go back to my husband being in a recording. He's a recording sound engineer as well, and he was going to Audio Technology Institute, and he was trying to learn just one channel, and he kept asking his teacher, what is it about this that makes this do it? And the guy goes, why do you need to know? Why do you need to know where that signal goes? All you need to know is you push that and it happens. You're being too technical, Ken. And I remember that's where I kind of go back when I'm working with the clients is yeah, just like my husband was needing to know why the light switch worked, why the solo button did what it did. He didn't need to know why, he just needed to know how and do it. And so that's what's, that's one of the things that seems to block us in our ability to use it, is we think it's too simple. Oh, it's too simple, it can't work. And the thought that it can't work cancels out the action, and boom, now you're stuck. So you have to, we kind of have to go after those beliefs as well. So like I said, that was kind of my thought was, why do I keep getting people still asking me, I don't know how to do it. And then like, you don't know how to do it. I gave you fill in the blanks, I don't know how to make it any more simple than that. And, but they want more instruction. They need more instruction than just fill in the blank, because that seems like it's too simple. And how many of us feel like if somebody offered to hand us money and said, here, if you'll walk to that corner and back, I'll give you $500. You're not willing to just say, okay, hand me the $500 and I'll walk to the corner and back, or let me walk to the corner and back and see if the guy gives me the $500. You're like, what's in it for him? What's in it? And we question because we don't believe that the guy's going to give us $500, and we believe that we might look foolish if we take it. So those kinds of thoughts, I like to use them when I'm working with clients. I'll say, okay, I want you guys to close your eyes. So let's just do it right now. I ask you guys to close your eyes and imagine somebody handing you $1,000. When you close your eyes and you imagine being handed $1,000, what thoughts go through your mind? So I'm hoping you're doing it, seeing yourself being handed. What'd you say?
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I love it. That's perfect. Now that answer doesn't show money blocks. That answer shows someone who's willing to receive. But most of my clients say, no, I couldn't possibly. Or what's in it for you? Why are you giving this? I don't deserve this. These are the answers that come up. Whatever answer comes up, put it in a Court of Atonement. So you say, okay, and I'll also say, okay, one man said, I didn't do anything to earn that. And I said, who told you had to earn money? In order to get money, you had to earn it. He goes, oh, my dad. And I say, place your dad in the Court of Atonement for a false belief, and to correct that belief. And so I'll use the scenario of where it is I'm wanting to go, and I'll start to visualize that. And like I said, with my clients, I had a woman, she might join us in here in a little bit, and she'd been trying to get pregnant for a couple of years. And I had her visualize the doctor telling her she's pregnant. And she couldn't even see the doctor's office. She couldn't allow herself to see anything. So we kept correcting whatever it was that she said she saw. We kept correcting it. And then after 45 minutes of working on that, she heard the doctor say she's pregnant. She saw her family celebrating and all of that. And within 3 weeks, she wrote me and said, I'm pregnant. And so I know that when one word that came to me the other day is the word information. When we have information that we believe, look at the word, information. It's the formation of things on the inside. So we take information that tells us that we don't deserve, and then we form that response outside. So it internally begins to form our lives out to the outside. So whenever you're looking for information, in order to do this group today, I had to go in and find information about the group Zoom. And as soon as I got that information, I'm like, this could work. I began to formalize how to do it. And then put the whole thing together, and voila, as the great alchemist that I am, here we are. So anyway, that's right. So, like I said, this stuff is as simple can be. And being that I can, that I can test with a pendulum, I can test using. I found this new way of muscle testing that I really love, and if anybody knows whose it is, please tell me. You know how Facebook has a video that'll just start playing? I was on a call with somebody, and I turned on my Facebook to look at something, and this video started playing, and this woman goes, I use muscle testing this way. This is a yes, and this is a no. And I saw her do that before I could shut it off, and I went, that's cool, note to self. So when the call was over, I started playing with this is a yes, and this is a no, and you just put your hands apart, and say, this is a yes. I program it into myself. This is a yes, and this is a no. I'm talking to my divine spirit guides only. This is a yes, and this is a no. And then I began to play with it and found it's a wonderful tool. But I went back into the group that had shared that post that started to play. I could never find who it was. I would love to see that video and what that woman did. So if anybody knows who that is, I'd sure like to give her credit. But anyway, if you're looking, once you program, all that dowsing is and muscle testing is communicating with the muscles of your body and communicating with the intelligence that knows a lot more than the conscious mind. So we're tying in to the subconscious mind and then tying into a greater field through that antenna. But the muscles, for muscle testing, you can use it and say, for those who are, most of us in here are pretty good dowsers already. So I know that I'm backtracking a little bit. I don't know how many people know this one. So anyway, what I'll do is I'll say, if this is a yes and this is a no, then that must be about 50%. So this is a no, this is a yes, this is a no, that must be 50%. This is 100% yes, this is 100% no, that's 50. You can go through the various degrees, right? So that's pretty simple. We can check right now using this thing, say, by calling something, well, that's a clue in the right direction. Somebody said she thinks it was demonstrated by calling something. Well, like I said, I'd really like to see it, to see us figure out who she is. And if you'll post her on my Facebook page, that'd be awesome. So anyway, we can ask, what we're going to be working on if we come in and do like an intensive here in a couple of weeks is we're going to go in and try to work on clearing out any blocks that keep us from getting correct answers, that keep us from being willing to heal, willing to receive healing, willing to whatever it is that makes us think that we cannot. One woman that I work with, she has seen herself unable to heal her daughter for so long that she's afraid to get false hope. And Abraham says, a fear of false hope creates no hope. So we need to go in and address these issues that underlie what it is that will block us from being able to see the outcome, because we all know that our thoughts and our visualizations create tomorrow. I always say, what I speak about today is what I create tomorrow. And and we can certainly see it when we're thinking about, it was funny, I got confused about a man. I thought that this one person I had met had spoken to me about another subject like 2 years prior. So I was asking him how that went, and he's like, I don't remember that. I don't remember that. And I hadn't, when I say 2 years, it was 5 years ago, this man had talked. I thought it was the same guy. Apparently, I had gotten confused when this guy first friend requested me, and I had the total wrong person for the past 2 years. And so when I realized that it wasn't him, the next morning I get up to a instant message from the original guy with the original subject asking for how to buy a copy of the Court of Atonement. I haven't talked to him in 5 years, but he came up in this dialogue, and then there he is the very next day. And my life works that way. My life works about what I'm, what we speak about, we bring about. And I was laughing yesterday because I'm saying this now, and my poor husband's on the couch over there about to hear it. But we were talking with this guy on chat, and I said, yeah, that's, we walk around and we step in it. We use our voices and we step in it all the time with what we're saying. And we went for a walk last night, and my husband stepped in fresh coyote poo. So I don't step in my own manifestations. I leave that up to Kim. Sorry, honey. He goes, oh, cheers, joy. Did you ever get in here?
No, and I just got a message from Mary Elliott that she's having the same issue.
Wow, and I think it's because there was those two.
That other meeting.
That other meeting.
Yeah, it says she's saying hang in because we're getting the message. Another meeting in progress.
Yeah, so there's people who can't get in. It's saying that there's another meeting in progress. If anybody knows what to do about that, maybe what I should do. Why don't you try signing in as me under the name?
On the other one?
Yeah, under the name Amy Jo Ellis. Amy Jo Sings 2 at AOL.com,
right.
And see if you can turn that meeting off. Because that's probably what's going on. I started to do this with a meeting on the cheaper thing, and then I upgraded to Pro, so there ended up being 2 meetings at the same time. I'm sorry to say that. Anyway, yeah, well, they're trying to go with that one that we gave them. I sent them the link right in, and the link is answering them saying there's another meeting in progress. And I don't know what to do about that, but if we blocked out 2 of them, then we probably blocked out a lot more. Let me see. But like I said, that was a mistake because I started to do it on the one that would only last for 40 minutes. And then, yeah, here, let me see if I can. Well, I don't want to break up what we're doing here. Do you guys have questions? Other questions that people ask are, how many times can we call a Court of Atonement for one person? And I don't just, it's like if somebody is a smoker and I don't like that they smoke, I will put myself in a Court of Atonement with my resistance to their smoking. And I will, hey Jackie, maybe you could post that on Facebook itself on the group and see if that would allow it to go through. Anyways, if they're a smoker, what is it that I don't like? It's like I place myself in a full Court of Atonement with my body's reaction to them smoking, to that physical cringing, and I place myself in a full Court of Atonement with believing that smoking causes cancer, and I place myself in a full Court of Atonement for the fear of that person smoking, and I'll place myself in a Court of Atonement with the way I feel about it. So then I can stop reacting to it and stop projecting those reactions out into tomorrow and creating them, because we were having a dialogue with Anne, who I think is in here, where she had found that the blessings that she was giving people were actually more like curses, because when you were saying, be careful when you're out there, take care, we're visualizing the person is having a problem. And then we try to limit them with an energetic protection for them. But that protection for them doesn't free them or you up to being who you really are and enjoying yourself. So that kind of thinking, when I'm trying to clear, like I said, smoking, what is it that I'm getting out of it? So, but I always use my name. I know it's repetitious. I know that it's obnoxious, but it's still what keeps coming up to be done. Like it's what accesses the file and makes it all work. So I'll be saying, I, Amy Josefa Richard Zealous, place myself in the full court of atonement for hating smoking. And then I'll think about where it was that I learned that. I placed myself, Amy Josefa Richard Zealous, into a full court of atonement with my grandfather, Frank Fitzpatrick, for smoking at the dinner table. And he would get up and smoke a pipe at the breakfast table, and I would be asleep on the couch just around the corner. And so then say, okay, you know, what else? What else is connected to it? Then you can say, I place that person. Okay, Anne, you have a question, you said?
Yes.
Get it away.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm the one that was talking about that. I was talking about my son, and when I think about him with his disease. So if I were going to do a FCA, I would put myself with my fears of my loss, rather than, trying to put it on him, because it's not for me to fix him. So how would I address, because I realize that, yes, it's about me, my fears about him.
Right. And so you put yourself in a full court of atonement with whatever that fear is.
Okay.
And you can make it, I recommend, it's in the next book that's going to be coming out any day, about making lists of what it is you don't like and placing, so when you think about your son's illness, you take a pen and paper and write down, afraid of being left alone. I am afraid that he will have this happen to him. I am afraid of this. And then you go back and you say, I place myself in a court of atonement with my fear of being left alone. And then I place myself in a court. Well, I like to do the blame thing. I like to blame that person and say, I don't like my son's, I don't know what's going on with your son, but judge him harshly and judge what he's doing harshly that you think is causing that illness. And then, so like if somebody has a kidney disease, we kind of know that anger, so liver and kidney all kind of have anger and rage and things like that. So if we see them with anger and rage, and they're a raging person all the time, then we can get upset and be angry and raging. They're angry and raging because it's not good for them. And we see out there what we don't like inside. So what I like to do is make a list and say, this person's behavior bothers me because, make that list. And I like the one I think I use in the book. Yeah, the one that I use in the book is an alcoholic, and say they show up late for work. They are not taking care of themselves. They are blah, blah, blah. And they make this list. And then I go back through and say, I place myself, Amy Josefa Richard Zealous, into a full court of atonement for every time I didn't show up to work on time.
Uh-huh.
I place myself, Amy Josefa Richard Zealous, in a full court of atonement for every time I didn't take care of myself. And I go through the list on myself. Then I say, I call myself into a full court of atonement for every time I was mad at someone for not showing up to work at time, and blame someone for not showing up to work, and go outside of them. And then you go, now I place myself in a full court of atonement with that person for not showing up to work on time, for not taking care of themselves. And I go through the list 3 times, once pointing it at everyone, or every time I made somebody late for work, every time I made someone, here, have some chocolate pudding, Audrey. I know you're on a diet. Not take care of themselves. And so So then when you come back to the person who's sick or the person who's got the thing you're trying to adjust, you say, I place myself in a full court of atonement with this person, and I ask to pardon them for making the exact same mistakes that I made. Does that make any sense now? And this might not pertain to you because your son has an illness, but I'm just showing it like on a level that everybody can look at it. And if you look at his illness as what it is that really bothers you, then go back and go, why is it in me that I have this?
Okay, I get that. I just it gets complicated when it feels like I have to find every little nuance. I would thought that, you know, that it said in the Court of Atonement that they're taking care of
It works so often just exactly like you're saying.
Yeah.
It really does. It does work in that way. When it doesn't clear, is because you're not wanting to let it.
Right, and I get it that I need to look within on myself. I do get that.
Right. When it doesn't clear, there's something in it for ourselves, because Abraham teaches that life is really just a projection of what's going on inside.
Right.
And so if it's still out there, it's still in here. So
Okay, thank you.
yeah, that's I hope that helped. But then I don't know if you guys all saw that blog that I wrote about being open and willing to receive the miracle. And somebody recommended saying it 3 times each paragraph for a month. And I feel like that's probably a really good thing to do. When I'm clearing my energy, I make each statement 3 times.
Okay.
And so, I'm clearing and blessing my energy. I'm clearing and blessing my energy. I'm clearing and blessing my energy. That's like when I want a quick clear. And I also do it when I'm washing my hands. Every time I wash my hands, I'm clearing and blessing my energy. And I just imagine everybody else's garbage going down the drain and just going back to being myself. And so the saying, the repetition of things like puts it in and indulges it into our mind a little bit. So if we can get in and look at those beliefs, I think that we'll start taking layers of the onion off. I know that when I did some major work to change the hearts of 48 men, that it was layer after layer. It wasn't like, okay, I'm going to go in and I'm going to take, there were 5 things I took off of every person on that list. The 5 things were 5 R's. And so they took off rage and resentment. Then they took off the need for retaliation, revenge, and restitution. And then they took off rage.
Little white pill bottle?
Uh-oh, Mom, you're mute yourself.
No.
Hang on, we'll see if we can get her here. At least I know who it is. When we're working on, I lost my train of thought there. There we go. Yeah, rage, restitution. I'm going to go back through them again and say, so the things I took off were rage and resentment. And then the need for retaliation, revenge, and restitution. Once we took that off, I then went in and began to remove fear. And I would begin to remove, and I have a list that is, that's got over 500, has 500 negative emotions, or I guess it's over 300 negative emotions. I mean, I don't think you can see that there, but this is my list that I douse. I'm a little bit different than the emotions code with their, 30 or whatever. And then I scramble and change those frequencies right exactly where they are, and I change them into a list of opposites. These are all positive emotions. And I compiled this by using a thesaurus and putting in, like, every word I put in, I found everything that was similar to it. So I'm going to make that a list available here probably within the next month or so, but it's going to take a lot of typing to try to get it into line. But my thought is when I was working on these people, it would say anger, and I would remove anger until anger was 100% clear. And then I would be moving rage and resentment, and then I would be removing fear and all this. And then I would come back to anger again. There would be another layer, but that layer was not accessible until until all this other stuff was removed. So it is really, it's really important to use the Court of Atonement again and again, because you're going to get another layer that you weren't willing to give up. I have a very, I don't know how to bring this up. I have a way of looking at the soul that is different than most people do. I believe that when we die, we are drop kicked to heaven. Do not pass our soul. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. There is no earthbound soul. No soul is earthbound. There's another layer. There is the spirit of the person. The soul is the consciousness that knows everything it's ever done. So it is that all-knowing aspect of the self, the higher self. But then we have the spirit of the person, which is the conscious mind that knows itself only in this moment, in this name, and who it is now. And then that when that releases from the body, it goes out, according to Abraham, all over. It can go out to everyone it ever loved or hated, because they are the opposite wing of the same bird. So it can go out unilaterally in all directions. But there's a third aspect, and this is where we're going to have to really do some learning. And this is what Abraham calls the denied aspect of the self. And this denied aspect is all those repressed memories. And those are the ghosts, not the spirit of the person or the soul. The ghost are the repressed memories. You kind of think of it like, those little itty bitty SD cards that we can put in our phone. I got one that's 120 gigabyte, 128 gigabyte. I can put hundreds of movies in there, and it's so tiny. So this energy is just like it's laying dormant like a file in your computer. And it's almost like a dust speck in our energy field. But once there's a combination of emotions that will open it like a lock, as soon as that emotion combination lock lines up, and I think it takes 4 emotions that are similar, then it's like clicking the icon to watch the movie. It just brings that energy to life, and suddenly the spirit of that person comes, and they're not in a good mood, and we think we're dealing with the whole of it all, and we're not. We're just dealing with this. And Abraham said that these denied aspects, these particles of information, basically, they go out not unilaterally to everybody, they go downstream to our children. They go out to our brothers and sisters and their children, and that they're not really like I said, it's not like the soul has been sitting on the earth plane with nothing to do but replay the loop. It's more that it's dormant, and that it gets activated when the same emotions combine. And that's what brings it back. And so if we work on clearing, I'm always I ask to place this person in a full Court of Atonement for soul recognition. That's asking for the soul to pick up these memories that it has repressed. We cannot place a person in a full Court of Atonement with their denied aspects. It will not work. It's a backfire. You don't even want to go there. That's stepping on free will to try to say you have to look at what you deny about yourself. It wouldn't, it just doesn't play. But if you say, I place them in a Court of Atonement for soul recognition, it gives the opportunity for them to look at whatever they're willing to look at and accept. So that's the unique and fun part of that. in doing the Court of Atonement, we're clearing that energy off the earth. We're like a bunch of vacuum cleaners healing this darker, denser energy. The more work we do for our, work we do for clearing off this denied aspect, the clearer our lives get going forward. So I'm sorry I'm getting distracted every time. What is that called? Facebook throws up an instant message. It kind of comes across my screen in a big way. I'm going, I wish I would have figured out how to stop that before I started the call. Maybe next time. But that's what this was about, was learning what the tricks are. So anyway, just going back to the denied aspects, the more work you do, when you're working on yourself, you can say, I asked to bring in my family lineage into this Court of Atonement, and I asked to correct this energy now. And that'll help pick up, it'll help dust the house, so to speak. It'll help gather it up, those things that have been causing problems and out of balances in our lives. So, but all it is saying the full Court of Atonement is assisting already in doing that. That's why I added it, was to try to get it to do it. But if you can purposefully go after it as well, knowing that it exists, you will help yourself. Is there anybody else who has any questions? I see I've been on here an hour, although I don't think it's been an hour. I'll probably have to edit this down. I don't know when it ran. Does anybody have any questions that they want to type in? I'll just sit here and do nothing until you say something. I'm kidding. I'm trying to think if there's more. Hi. I hear somebody come back.
It's Trinity. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can.
Probably can hear my kids though. Where are we able to type something in? I'm not seeing that. I had a question because the Court of Atonement has been really helpful for me uncovering my beliefs and my things to work on, my garbage, my mess. Babies. But
okay, you like them.
But thank you. But I'm not really having a lot of success resolving conflicts with other people.
Okay.
In particular, my best friend, she hasn't spoken to me in almost a year, and I've apologized. I mean, I've done like physical, like reaching out to her and being like, hey, I want to work this out. And I've tried the Court of Atonement, and other people have called Courts of Atonement, and I'm not getting anywhere.
Okay. Yeah, there's that free will, unfortunately. We can go ahead and mute you unless you have another question coming in. So then go ahead.
No, yeah. Let me mute myself. Definitely, it's a little loud.
What I'm thinking here is, well, before you go too far, did you put a list together of everything that bothers you about what she's done? Have you tried to?
Well, let's see. I was focusing more on like what I can do differently and like what to change about myself. Because I want to take responsibility for my part of the situation.
Right. Well, what I'm asking is, what she's doing by not communicating with you makes you feel what? Why are you angry with her? What did she do? Let's let her give me a couple of things. We're gonna.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm hurt, and I am also angry because she said a lot of bad things about me, and another friend of ours called CPS on me, just to cause trouble. So
okay. I'm gonna say told on me. You know what I mean, like tattletaling. So now you can go ahead and mute yourself. And we've got a couple of things. She's hurting me. Right.
One second. And it wasn't even really. It's not even really tattletaling. It was the other person was deliberately being malicious. So I had to I had Court of Atonement that too.
Right, sure. I understand, but I don't, I in order to use it in reverse, I don't think there's anybody you call TPS on. So,
Right.
so in order to do it, I understand they're turning me false accusations. How about that?
Perfect. And thank you for your help. I'm going to mute myself because my kids are bouncing off the walls here.
Okay, so yeah, go right back. So we have a list of 3 or 4 things. And so I would take a look at it and I would say, she's hurting me she's hurting me with her actions. She's making me angry. Those are more the statements. So you would say, I place myself in a full court of atonement with every time I've hurt someone. And I ask to correct this energy now. I place myself in a full court of atonement for every time I've ever made someone angry. And I place myself in a full court of atonement now. I call myself into a full, and say your name every time. I place myself in a full court of atonement for every time I said bad things about someone. I place myself in a full court of atonement for every time I falsely accused someone. So now you've sent that energy out for every time you've done that. Now place yourself in a quarter, and now I place myself in a full court of atonement with every time I have hurt myself. And then I'd say I place myself in a full court of atonement with every time I've made myself angry. I place myself in a court of atonement with every time I have said bad things about me. And then I would say I place myself in a full court of atonement for every time I have falsely accused myself. And I've taken the blame, So then, once you get done with that, you say, I place myself in a full court of atonement with the person you're talking about, and I ask to pardon her for making the same mistakes I make. I ask to pardon her for hurting me. I ask to pardon her for making me angry. And say, even though there's a part of me that cannot pardon her, I ask to be pardoned for that. And then if it still feels like it won't clear, you say, I place her in a court of atonement for every time she's hurting me. And if you still feel hurt right in that moment, you say, I place myself in a full court of atonement with being unwilling to pardon her. And then try to go back. And the thing is that in pardoning, we are releasing that energy, that it's a complete release of it. And I don't feel like it is allowing them to get away with it. If they are truly in the wrong, they are still going to have to make restitution for it at an energetic level. But it will stop you from holding on to it inside your body and making yourself sick and redoing it. So because it's the lack of pardoning that's making it repeat. So then go back, keep going with it and say, I asked to pardon her for making the same mistake I made and saying bad things about me. And I asked to pardon her for the false accusations, making the same mistakes that I make and falsely accusing me. And then it gives this kind of a seesaw thing that happens with the energy, and it allows it to balance. So that would be the way I would go after it. And I'll tell you one thing, whether she changes her behavior or not, you're going to feel a whole lot better and pretty much not care anymore. So, that's that. So someone else said that they had a question if I had the time or willingness to answer. I'm not looking to be doing one-on-one sessions with people, but I am asking, looking to answer questions about the Court of Atonement and the process of it. So, go ahead and fire away. I'll see if I can remember another funny joke. I should have had 2 or 3 of them at the ready. I only saw the one on the police station. Let me see. And you'll have to see that in the rerun because I don't want to bore people twice. Well, okay.
Hello?
My mom says now she understands why my grandfather asked to be pardoned. Yeah, because it pulls that energy out of everyone. Yes, so somebody said something.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi, this is Debbie. Okay, I understand you're just asking about general questions, but if I'm trying to solve my problem of being overweight and not being able to lose weight or get physically fit, what would I say?
Okay, well, in the Court of Atonement group, are you a member of that? I think you are if you're in here.
Yes.
Up in the files of that are 14 pages on weight loss.
Oh, okay. I'll take a look.
Right. So glad we covered that. But yeah, the very first one they started with was hopelessness. I placed myself in a full Court of Atonement with I've tried everything. Hopelessness. And what reminds me of a conversation that I had with my son the other day, where he reminded me of a friend of ours very harshly said to me in Puerto Rico. He said, if you really wanted to lose weight, you would stop opening your mouth and putting food in it. And my son reminded me of that, and it seems oversimplified, but my son is trying to lose weight, and he was bringing it up and saying, there's got to be a mental thing behind it because we don't do that. And why is it that we don't do that? And of course, because we all believe it's bad for our body to do that, that's the first thing. And but like I said, for some reason, it felt like bringing it back up to any resistance to that. But in that, like I said, they started with helplessness and hopelessness, and this feeling that I can't resolve it. For you, I would say go to the blog and read the blog on From Resistance to Miracles. And we were just talking about that. Go through that blog, amyjoellis.com, find From Resistance to Miracles, and then print it out and read each one of those statements 3 times each. Because this pulls the energy, this will kind of take the layering off of what makes us believe we can't just change our physical form overnight. Because honestly, our cells change, almost all of them change within 48 hours. And I think within 2 years, there isn't one cell in your body that's the same as it was 2 years ago. So the eyes change. Every single cell in your eye and in your optic nerve is not the same in 2 days, 48 hours. And it's all different. What keeps it locked in cataracts or keeps it locked in this vision pattern that it has is the beliefs behind it, what's telling it to be what it is. And so I did work on my eyes, and Pamela Winthrop Crott, if she's in here, she is a real great coach. And I told her I was going in to get my eyes checked because they had gotten way, way worse. And the first time I went to see the doctor, they were at 125 for reading, and 1 year later they were at 375 for reading, and then at 225 for distance, and they were falling really fast. And so now they had changed so dramatically. I was like completely blind without the glasses and put them on, and I wasn't that much better. So I was a bit worried about it, and my vision would turn completely off after about 10 minutes of reading on the computer. So anybody who was with me way back in the beginning can remember how absolutely atrocious my spelling and my, I was smishing words, so I just couldn't see. Everything was doubled. And so Pamela sat with me, and I did Courts of Atonement with her, working, emotion code wise into what was going on behind the vision. And then I began putting energy in my hands and then putting them in my eyes. And I went to the doctor, and my vision, like I said, was 375 for reading, had dropped back to, I think they're only 175 for reading now, and 125 for distance. So they corrected in a big way within about a week of working on them. We can make these kind of changes. We just have to believe we can. And it's really important to get yourself in the mindset of being able to believe that we can. So find in the blog post I wrote that blog post only 2 weeks ago, and the other book has been done for for like a month and a half. And I immediately went and made it do the very first thing, top of the book. Let's work on being able to believe, because the rest of the book isn't going to do anything if we don't get that. So do that, and then go in and find the weight loss stuff in there. And what I noticed was I went through Christmas without gaining any weight. I can't say that I lost any, but I went through the whole Christmas season without gaining anything. And I didn't feel like eating everything. I would have a bite or two and go, oh my gosh, is that wonderful? But that's enough. And I never felt like I had, denied myself anything, because I was, ooh, fudge, yum, one bite. Oh my gosh, is that great? 2 bites. Wow, is that enough? And I would put it down. And so I did make some changes. We tried that as a test to see if we could do anything with the Court of Atonement with it. And but I would start there and then see what else you can come up with, and share with us what you do come up with. Was there some other person that had we're out of time, we're going to hit that hour mark. But was there someone else who had a question? They started to say, shoot, she said it in here. If I could see the chat area, I would be able to see what that question was, but mine doesn't show the chat area. Anybody see what she said?
Amy,
Or you
I
can
have a question.
Yes.
So when a situation comes up, say that you have a memory of something that happened when you were a child, and you see that belief has blocked you and the rest of your life in certain areas, how do you start with the full Court of Atonement
Okay, well,
to clear it?
it's going to be to place yourself in a full Court of Atonement with everyone involved in that scenario, and ask to correct that information at that level. And so what I do is, how old were you when that happened?
4.
You were 4. So you say your name now. Say, I place myself. Repeat after me. I place myself.
I place myself.
Say your full name now.
Pamela Gail Reese Best.
Into a full Court of Atonement with myself, and say your name on your birth certificate.
Okay.
I place myself in a full Court of Atonement with myself.
I place myself in a full Court of Atonement with myself, Pamela Gail Reese.
At the age of 4.
At the age of 4.
And then you can, from here, start saying, I bring in my mother, my father, my brother, my uncle, whoever was there. So you just start bringing them in from this point. And then you say, I place in, if you believe this is where you learned that you're not good enough, you say, I bring in the belief that I'm not good enough, and I ask to correct that information now. And I bring in the knowing that I am good enough to do anything I choose. And you kind of you want to bring in the opposite, of anything negative. You want to try to go to the positive as best you can. The more we focus on it, the more we're going to bring it about. So you want to bring that up. But that's where you start. And then I have many other tools that we'll have to cover at another time, but you can go back to before it happened and tell yourself, step back into the scene and say, hi, little 4-year-old me. I am, 45-year-old me from the future. I know I look like your grandma, but I am you. And I love you. And you imagine yourself picking yourself up. I took a 70-year-old man and had him kick the shit out of some boys who beat him up when he was 8. I said, you see me? I am this kid. 60 years in the future, and I'm the guy who's going to kick your butts right now. And I just had to go back and correct the situation in any way that was kind of fun, lighthearted, and he's like, oh my gosh, that felt great, So And then you step outside your timeline and like a boat leaves a wake on the water, go alongside and bring that new energy forward.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we're really out of time, and I see that you have that message for me that I think you're sending privately, but we can talk about that afterwards. So somebody's sending me a question, and it will be something that we can address in a private conversation. But thank you to everybody who came. We had a really great turnout, and I'm hoping that maybe by next Saturday that I'll have the information that I want to hold for really doing like advanced classes, where this was kind of a beginner class of just getting people up to speed on how to do this. Thank you guys. And then I want to we can figure out why some people couldn't get in and get this all arranged. I'm pretty sure it's because there were accidentally 2 meetings made at the same time, but they were 2 different accounts. So I don't know why that would do it. Anyhow, hope to see you guys all again, and we'll figure this all out as we go. I'm a newbie. I'm not afraid to make mistakes. So, oh, good. Thank you. It was mind blowing. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Love it. Talk to you next week. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, I'm just going to shut the recording off. I don't know if that does or not.
Thanks, Amy.
You're welcome. Hey, love y'all.
Love you.
Love you, Jack. Me too.
I'm still here.
Okay, yeah. Oh, you're welcome. Now we're off camera. We can